You have been listening to Mwangi Mudhe talking about the Under-18 Championship preparations. That clip, you had recorded it earlier, but we had the chance to also play it today because it was really relevant as we are heading into those championships starting next week on Wednesday to Sunday here in Kenya. It will be a 5-day event. But also, I'm lucky to be joined by Samuel Gasharira from Mathare United, and Ronnie is still here with us to discuss the happenings in what has been happening in the football circles here in Kenya, but also will be heading to Europe a little bit later. This chair is for the social nerd. He'll be here to talk to us about his feelings and what he feels like if Mourinho managed to snap Lukaku out of Chelsea fingers. Samuel, good to have you back here on set. First question I gotta pull to you is the KPL versus Bamba partnership that you have seen so far. Is it a good idea for KPL to go a free-to-air way?
I think it's a plus for the Kenyan Premier League. First of all, because in terms of viewership, at least the clubs and the corporates, they're at least they're assured of better coverage in terms of viewership, because free to air, we are talking about more than 25 million Kenyans watching Bamba TV, because it's a local sports channel. And for me, I think it's an upgrade in terms from SuperSport in terms of viewership. But of course, if you look at it from a financial point of view, you find that the SuperSport deal, of course, it's more lucrative compared to what Bamba is offering. But I think it's better to have something instead of nothing at all. So it's good to see the local top tier back into our screens.
Ronnie, what do you make of the deal that came out this week, Radio Africa taking over the broadcasting rights of the Kenya Premier League?
As I've hinted earlier in the show, it's a very good thing for football, because we've been in the dark for a couple of months and we really haven't been knowing what's happening where. So by Bamba coming in, it's a big risk for them. Football in Kenya is not really a lucrative business, but it's a very big risk for them and a very good thing they've done to come to air the Kenyan Premier League as well. However, as Gasharira says, the biggest question now is in the money. We all know that globally, TV rights form a very integral part of the revenue share for football teams and associations. Bamba giving 36 million to the Kenyan Premier League compared to what SuperSport was giving, that's really meager. 36 million wouldn't be sufficient even to fund, let's say, FC Leopards or Gor Mahia for an entire season. So the money aspect is really now where the talking points come from. It's not really lucrative. It's not really lucrative, and I hope that moving forward, something better can be discussed from the two. But for now, let's give it to Bamba. Let's give it to KPL and FKF. They've made the deal happen. We have it on our screens, on free-to-air, so good thing for football.
For me, I'd like to differ with what Ronnie is saying. I don't really see it as a risk, per se. I see it as a big opportunity for Bamba, because if you look at what they have done, they've come out of their comfort zone. Of course, we've had big media houses like KBC, KTN, Nation, Citizen TV shying away from broadcasting our league. But what has Radio Africa done? They've come with an all-inclusive local sports channel in the form of Bamba TV. And I think for me, there exists a big opportunity, given now that they are televising the top tier as well as the second tier. So for them, it's all about doing their homework. Look at what Kwesi Sports has done in Zimbabwe. Look at what SuperSport has done in South Africa with a lot of success, and try and bring that back home. Of course, in their ranks, they have former SuperSport employees. So I don't think it will take them a lot of time before they pick up. And for me, I'm foreseeing a bright future for Bamba Sports in local football content.
Well, this deal was launched this week at the Nairobi Hotel, and we had Ambrose Rachel talk about that deal, but also Patrick Kwanko, the CEO of Radio Africa Group, and Captain Ronald Karaudi, the CEO of SportPesa, who was really happy that his franchise is on the market. Let's listen in to what Ambrose Rachel had to say, Patrick Kwanko and Captain Ronald Karaudi.
Bamba Sports Broadcasting Sport Pesa Premier League matches for free will also go some way in helping our referees become better, as they will now get video clips that will provide an enhanced and unbiased opinion of the assessment by highlighting where they did well and areas they need to improve upon.
And the appointment of Radio Africa and Bamba Sport as the exclusive official KPL broadcast partner of the Sports Pesa Premier League, we take yet another step to grow Kenya sport. I think the Sports Pesa Premier League represents the cream of Kenya soccer, and for the first time, we are making it free to Kenyans.
What we wanted is for as many Kenyans as possible to watch the league, so that we can create stars from our local football players. We have very good players, but it's very unfortunate in Kenya we recognize more the foreign players rather than the local players, and it has always been our goal as Sport Pesa to ensure that we as Kenyans love our local homegrown talent.
That was the CEO of Radio Africa Group, Patrick Kwako, Sport Pesa CEO here in Kenya, Captain Ronald Karauri, and also the KPL chairman and Gor Mahia chairman Ambrose Rachel, talking about the deal that was signed here in Nairobi about KPL TV broadcast rights being given to Bamba Sport exclusively. The social nut is here with us. Welcome. Traffic in Nairobi seems to be the better part of life, even on Saturday. I gotta throw it to the deep end and ask you, what do you make of the deal between KPL and Bamba?
I think just to echo the sentiments of my fellow panelists, it's something that is very good for the league. I think the few weeks that we've not been in air clearly has affected the league, and somehow, normally it messes with the confidence of the fans and the league. So I think the deal is good, even if regardless of the amount that is there. Of course, Bamba can't compete with the might of the likes of SuperSport. But I really like the fact that it's something from us, so it's our league, so why not? Yes.
And Ronnie, you were saying something as we were listening to that clip about how this TV rights are structured, or how is it put for you. If you look at the case study, let's say, of the English Premier League, the way it is done, and you look at the way Kenya we are doing, because we were dark in 6 months, is it a way that Kenya should try to go? Our production, our federations, our Kenya Premier League Limited should look at and say, we should go this way instead of being in the dark for this long?
Yeah, sure. As I was saying on the break to the rest of the members here was, like the Premier League, what happens, there's a company, IMG, that produces the content, then it distributes. So I think that should be the case again for Kenya. You have the federation and the Premier League body contracting one body that produces really high quality content, then it distributes to the other stations and sells them for that matter. However, again, something major comes out from this discussion of Radio Africa and any other prospective broadcast partner coming on board, the issue of revenue share. What happens? Do we still remain in the days where each club was getting a similar amount of revenue, or we do what's happening in the La Liga, where the clubs get revenue in accordance to what they bring to the broadcaster? A previous discussion we've had was, can, for instance, Gor Mahia get a similar rev share as Nzoia Sugar? No offense to Nzoia, but you see the amount of audiences the two teams bring to the table.
Yes.
Sure.
So that's a very big discussion that needs to be ignited. When a new broadcaster is coming on board, do these clubs negotiate for their own deals separately, or it's done collectively by KPL, so each club gets a similar amount of revenue?
This conversation also goes on social media. You can talk to us using the hashtag touchline Y254, at Aloyo Senior, at Samuel Gasharira, at Ian Waga, the social nut, and at Osoro Robert. But also, Samuel, I gotta bring you back into this conversation and ask you, the local media channels, we have shied away from this. We don't usually cover them. And when you look at the money that Bamba is giving onto the KPL, it's 36 million. Now, they are saying it's exclusive, but they'll be getting a double header. That's 1 day per match. Likely, can they give a chance to another local, let's say if another local channel comes in and say, we don't have the 30 million, but if we can bring, let's say 15 million, you can give a chance to shoot the matches that you are not going to shoot live.
I think the most important thing in as much as TV coverage is concerned is the visibility of our football. And for a very long time, and it's something that has been evident, is our local game marketable? What do we have to offer? I had people the other day complaining that SportPesa is taking millions of shillings to England, and it's like they're shortchanging Kenyans, yet we are the owners of SportPesa. But then, is our game marketable? And I think that also goes back to what Ronnie was saying. In as much as we can get a company to produce our local games, of what importance will be a game, let's say Chemelil versus Sony Sugar, who will buy that content? So in as much as we are looking at coverage, we also have to ask ourselves big questions, hard questions. Are we bringing fans to the stadium? Because corporates wants to see numbers, and do we have those numbers?
Of the 100 million that Bamba and largely Radio Africa are pumping into the deal, they've set aside some millions as well for marketing and promoting the games. I think it's a good initiative. We've seen that happening in the National Super League, where they're trying to really promote the matches, hype, bring in musicians and what have you. I don't know, it could have an impact. It really could have a big impact on the league in bringing the people. But it's really a big debate. It's really a big debate. People just shying away from the league because it's not, the football quality is not good enough, or because enough marketing is not being done to bring them back to the stadium.
If you can remember a few years back, whenever Gor Mahia played FC Leopards, the stadium would be packed. That is just the other day, 2011, 2012. But if you look at what has happened lately, it's as if fans, they no longer have the interest to go and support their own teams. A team like FC Leopards, which my friend here supports, fans, just the other day they were playing in Nakuru against Kariobangi Sharks, and the stadium was empty. It was virtually empty, and yet they call themselves a big club. So it's a big point of concern, especially for the people who run clubs. And I think the biggest challenge that they have is, how do we bring these fans back to the stadium?
And Ian, if I bring you into this conversation, because you're a software developer and you look at the analytics, and one of the major things they talked about in that deal was the stream. They want to stream these matches online. Now, we don't have eyeballs at the field itself. We are trying to create a TV audience. Do you have eyeballs if we stream this thing online?
First of all, it must be said that the internet penetration cannot allow us to use streaming service. I think that will be just a sideshow. That is something they use as so that they look technologically advanced. But it's something that should be an afterthought, because the first thing should be to get people to the stadium. And I go back to his point when Gor met FC around the 2011, 2012 years. It used to be very good, and I think why I think it was so, it's because also the league was competitive.
Sure.
Now it's come to a point where Gor Mahia has won it, I don't know, 3 times in a row, and I don't think the fans are as hungry for it as they used to be. But what Gor should do is, to maintain that, they should do well continentally. They should do well in these matches for CAF, the champions, the leagues out there, so that they maintain. Imagine if your team reaches the semi-finals. Why won't we pack the stadium to go and see the game?
I think Ian has a very good point right there, because when you stream the matches on let's say Facebook or YouTube, then the cost of internet in Kenya is not really considerably low. It's still high there, so Kenyan will have to spend quite a considerable amount to stream these matches effectively. And a big question around this TV discussion has been, how do we get the numbers? You reckon that Kenya is a nation of about 45 million people, but the highest watched show in Kenya is watched by 1.2 million people. So then football you are competing against other factors. Kenyans have the love for EPL and La Liga and what have you. So I think it's a question of improving the quality of the game, not really marketing, but just improving the quality of the game, making it more competitive, bringing in better players, so that in the end you have more people watching and more people supporting the clubs.
I also think this has been raised a lot of times. You look at the English Premier League. When they restructured to the Premier League in 1992, what did they go back to? They went back to supporting teams that come from different zones. Because you look at a team like Chemelil Sugar, well, it is based in Awasi in Chemelil, but do the people there really take that as their own team? No, the answer is no. You look at a corporate team like Nakumat, where do they draw their fan base from? But it's opposite. If you look from our model, that is the English Premier League. In London, we have 4 teams, and whenever those 4 teams are playing, the stadium is fully packed, because they say this, well, it's just the same like from Nairobi. If we have a team like Mathare United, this is a team that represents people from Mathare and beyond.
Yes.
A team like Kariobangi Sharks. So it's high time that we create a sense of ownership among our fans. I think that's the most important thing for us. But if we still go back to corporate companies coming up with their own football teams, I think Kenyan football will still stagnate in the long term.
I'm gonna stop you there. We'll come back to have a major discussion on this post, but we have got to pay tribute to one of the biggest fans in football, Brother Lowry. I think you remember the Sunderland fan who just passed away because of cancer. We'll be right back to discuss more of also the transfers that have been happening in England. Let's listen in and watch Brother Lowry as we pay tribute to the youngest fan who brought many people into stadium because of one thing: let's fight cancer.
Continuation.
That was Jermaine Defoe breaking down into tears after being asked a question about Bradley Lowry, a young kid at just the age of 6, being diagnosed with cancer, and he passed away on July 7th. That kid was really young, but he moved people and he became a hero to the English fans.
I think it's very sad, regardless of if he's a football fan or not, first of all, to see a child pass away. And I think the way it brought the football world together, I think there was a saying going around that cancer has no colors. So whether you are a Chelsea fan or a Man U fan, you have to again feel for the child. And I think the responsibility, it shows that football is more than a game. First of all, even we should use the platform to shine light on things that are happening in the society, like cancer and whatnot. We can use it in AIDS, in any other thing. Yes.
Well, RIP Bloody Lowry. Now we're gonna come back to football and discuss one of the major transfers happening in the whole world. Samuel, Mourinho is back to his good old tricks for Manchester United fans if he can snap Lukaku from Chelsea fingertips.
Well, I think the acquisition of Lukaku is central to Mourinho's plans for the 2017-2018 season. If you look at the previous campaign, he brought in Zlatan Ibrahimovic because for Mourinho, he likes to work with a proven goal scorer. If you can remember his days at Inter Milan with Samuel Eto'o, he converted Diego Milito into a deadly forward. So for me, I think Mourinho is a big fan of big centre forwards. And I think the acquisition of Lukaku will be a great capture for Mourinho. And if he manages to successfully sign Lukaku, then Manchester United will be serious contenders for the English Premier League.
If that guy makes it to the Manchester United squad, he scored 25 goals with Everton. Everton are good, they were good, but you cannot compare them with Jose Mourinho with Manchester United. You look at a Manchester United machinery, Lukaku leading that forward line, they'll be a really good force to reckon with next season.
Lukaku has scored 71 goals in 133 matches for Everton.
Yes.
And it's such a mind-blowing record for a striker. It's been a big discussion, the transfer of Lukaku coming to United and what have you. But again, analysts have it that Mino Raiola, his agent, must have influenced the transfer because when he's brought a couple of players to United, to Old Trafford. So a big player, he's coming in to fill big shoes. Though I really don't think he'll be an instant hit this season. If he's signed for about 4 or 5 seasons, then he'll certainly mature over time. But he's a big player. I don't expect him to have that big impact that, for instance, Zlatan Ibrahimovic had in his first season at United. So it's a major transfer that has happened. Though again, I have my reservations on the money bit. It's reported that it could go to as much as £100 million. I've just seen it's been reported by BBC today that it could reach £100 million, including the add-ons. So I kind of feel it's a bit overrated. And when you're signed for that amount of money, then all the cameras are focusing on you. There's so much criticism, there's so much pressure. But I know Lukaku, though at 24 years, is shown so much potential for both club and country, and he can handle the pressure.
It seems agents are becoming a big part of this business because in that picture we are looking at Mino Raiola, the agent of Pogba, Lukaku there, and Zlatan Ibrahimovic, and he might be the one who was instrumental in this deal if it actually goes on to be true.
I think it's true, first of all, because the amount of players is brought to United since last season, I think it's mind-blowing. You don't forget Henrik Mkhitaryan in that list also. Is Mino Raiola prodigy. But then again, my biggest issue is with Chelsea and why they didn't snap him up. I think we were in pole position to get the striker, and I think
you let him go.
and I think we have a bad relationship with Everton. I think since from the time we tried to sign John Stones, and I think maybe that affected the deal here and there, and Mourinho snapped it up. But I don't think it's final, so I expect us to fight to the wire because Lukaku is a great player and he's been a Chelsea boy before.
Samuel, one of our senior cameramen, Frank Mesuti, is actually going to kill me and is saying, how can you start with the rumors instead of starting with the main signing itself? Alexander Lacazette from Lyon to Arsenal. What do you make of the signing?
You know, one season ago, Jose Mourinho described Wenger as a specialist in failure, and
Yes.
I think that signing just describes exactly that, because when Arsenal were playing in the Champions League, Wenger was reluctant to make big signings, but now he's playing in the Europa League and he has made a very serious signing in the form of Alexander Lacazette. But maybe you can understand that because Lacazette played in the Europa League with Lyon, so maybe he's banking on his experience in that competition.
Lacazette he's a good player, and you've seen Arsenal, although they've not disclosed, but the rumor mill has it that his transfer is in the region of 52
Yes.
million pounds or thereabout. So it's a big transfer. But again, there's another big discussion that comes from that transfer. Is Lacazette an upgrade or an alternative to Arsenal, to Giroud particularly? Because you have two players. Giroud is more preferred playing at the national team in front of Lacazette. However, Lacazette has had a more spectacular season at club level compared to Giroud. Although again, you got to give it to Giroud for having helped Arsenal last season, scoring some very crucial goals. So the big question is Lacazette an upgrade or an alternative for Arsenal?
I think I can answer that. I think Lacazette is just another Giroud. Because first of all, you look at the price range of serious players right now. The top strikers, we are talking about the Moratas, the Lukakus. See how much they cost, the Dybalas, probably the amount of money they'll cost. So if you go ahead and spend half of that, I think you're getting half the goals Kina Lukaku will be scoring. I think Lacazette is a good player, actually, but I don't think he can do 20 goals a season. And Arsenal right now need a striker that can do at least 20 goals a season. I think if they get a man like that, they'll be serious contenders for the league.
And somewhere when you look at Arsenal, rumors are going on that Alexis Sanchez wants 400,000 a week for him to stay in Arsenal. That's pushing his salary cap to 53 million a year. Is it something that, because Alexis Sanchez wanted players who can come in and help Arsenal win trophies, they move away from the FA Cup. If Wenger is getting Lacazette, he's trying to tie down Mesut Ozil and manages to convince Sanchez to stay at Arsenal, that will be a very deadly front line.
It looks like a very deadly front line on paper, but of course, if you followed Arsenal for the past 5 seasons, they start the league very well. But when it reaches at the business point, that is December, you find them, they start struggling with injuries, and along the way, their season crumbles. So I think for Alexis Sanchez, he has a valid point when he's telling Wenger, look, hey, you have to get high-quality players. So while Lacazette is a good striker, he has proved in France that he can really bang in goals. But is he really the type of striker who can lead you to win trophies?
Arsenal's problem has not really been, in my opinion, has not really been in getting the goals. Because to win a league, you need someone to give you 20 plus goals, and Alexis Sanchez can just do that. He got well over the 20 goal mark. But now Arsenal's main problem has been consistency, as Gasharira says. They're not able to keep the momentum through the season.
Sure.
They start the season on a high. Towards December, November, it's dipping. Towards January, then when the season is approaching the end, they seem to be awake again. So that has been Arsenal's main problem. I don't know if it's a question of preparation or just not having a long squad that can be able to sustain the run. So I think that's where Arsenal's main problem really lies, and not in the goal scoring.
Not in management.
the main problem can be management.
I think last week Stan Kroenke mentioned that the club is going for big signings. I think that's the word he used, if I'm not wrong. I don't know how big is to Kroenke, but still a major issue there.
Because when you look at other teams that are really making signings, one player I've got to ask he should have retired or not has to be John Terry getting a free transfer to go and play for Aston Villa. The man should have just said, it's enough. His peers like Frank Lampard just said, hey, I've tried, I've done my best, let me rest. Or was it a good idea for him to go to Aston Villa?
Well, Terry is a lad who likes football. He's if you followed him through his career, he's a winner. He's a proven winner. He's a leader, and I think for me it's a plus for Aston Villa, not a plus for Terry, because they've been down in the championship. They need an inspirational figure, somebody who has won championships before, and as they fight for promotion, I think Terry will play a very big role. And I also think for Terry, it's slightly a plus for him, because I read during the week that he's starting to take his coaching badges in England. So I think it's always good to start learning the coaching from lower division. It gives you more confidence and gives you less pressure to learn. So for me, it's a good deal for Terry.
And he said that he feared meeting Chelsea when they play again in the Premier League. That's why he went to Aston Villa. Do you buy that?
First of all, I think that is a thing of class. Only.
Yes.
Because the same thing...
Let's listen in to John Terry before you answer that.
Phone calls, text messages, and then obviously bumped into Stephen in Portugal as well. With the ambition, the same as mine. Got huge respect for him as a player, as a person, as a man as well. The way he's dealt with me personally and professionally has been great and a key factor of me joining.
And obviously played the same position. At either end of your careers, did you ever come up against each other?
No.
So what did he do to persuade you, apart from the fact that obviously this is a club with, got pedigree in the Premier League and it's built for the Premier League?
Well, that is John Terry trying to answer a question, as he has joined Aston Villa on a free transfer to try and play in that. But also one player who had also moved from Sunderland to Bournemouth has to be Jermaine Defoe. Is he a good man for Bournemouth? Because Bournemouth has tried to get some good signings in their side. Nathaniel Ake, also from Chelsea, went to Bournemouth.
I think, first of all, on Bournemouth, I think Eddie Howe is one of the best managers in the league, period. I think he's a very talented lad, he's young. And I think Jermaine Defoe has proven himself over and over again. I think he's a born goal scorer. I think nothing could go wrong for him. I think he will even get more goals than he did at Sunderland. So much respect to him. He's now still in the English fold, in the national team. So he's proving that age is just a number.
What do you make of Liverpool? Mohamed Salah from Roma coming into Liverpool. Is it a good signing, or these guys are just wanna pump mwili hapa juu wanaacha chini? What do you make of the signing?
I think Klopp is a very good coach. He has a plan. You can see from when he came in, he seems to be building something slowly. If he can keep those players, Salah is a very good player. He has the experience and the quality. But if Klopp can keep these players, the Coutinhos, the Sadio Manes, the Salahs, for a longer period, probably 1 or 2 more seasons together, then Liverpool can really be a force to reckon with. He's a good coach tactically, he has the experience, but I hope he continues with the building. I hope he's given at least 2 more seasons, and Liverpool will be almost a complete project.
I also think the signing of Salah is very important for Liverpool, because if you've observed them how they play, Roberto Firmino is a natural centre forward. He's more of a striker, but Klopp has been forced to play him out wide. So I think the acquisition of Salah will allow Klopp to play Firmino up front. And you remember that they are playing in the Champions League, and part of Liverpool's undoing has been the lack of a leader up front, because for Daniel Sturridge, he'll be brilliant in 7 games, then you miss him for almost 23 games. And they lack a leader up front. And I think Firmino is a very good centre forward, and he's a talented lad. And I think now with Salah in the picture, he'll be played out wide and Mane out wide, and now Firmino can concentrate on banging in the goals.
Finally, I was going to ask you, Everton have brought in David Klassen, but do you give Man City a chance with Edison coming in as a goalkeeper and Bernardo Silva from Monaco joining the midfield ranks?
First of all, on City, I think Pep Guardiola's signings are normally very impeccable. I think the only mistake I think he ever did was when he signed Claudio Bravo the last time, and you saw what happened. But in Edison, I think he's a young guy. I think he will come in. I think he will do very well. But Bernardo Silva will be the man. I think he's the heir to Silva, the other Silva, to David Silva. And I think he's still very young. You saw him at Monaco last season. I think he will bring very many problems to the league. But again, we've seen a couple of signings from Everton. I still believe in Koeman. I think his youth project will take off finally. And I think even the kind of players he's buying with the budget he has, I think he's making the right decisions.
Wow. So we are finishing. We're coming to the end of this show. Are you heading to RFUA, or where are you guys headed this afternoon?
There's so much GoTV action currently underway.
Yes.
FC Leopards, the club I support, is playing Nairobi Stima in about an hour's time, and a couple of other matches around. I think it would be important to see what happens. Leopards, I understand they have a bit of managerial challenges, so I hope they can get it right against Stima, which is not really an easy side. And also, I think the highlight of the weekend has to be the Kenya versus Tunisia match on Gong Road. A big one. We hope Kenya gets it right. We hope we can get a really good result and get the boys playing really well.
Summer, where will you be headed?
I'm looking forward to some upsets in the GoTV Shield, and I think my friend Ronnie could have said we are about to be eliminated. Not we are going to play Nairobi Stima. We are about. Yeah, I can see it coming.
Well, I'd like to say thank you and appreciate you, gentlemen, for coming here on board, and also for Ronnie standing in for Max here today on the touchline. What can I say? It has been fun hosting this show here today. The Pundit is at Diani Beach Rugby. He's having fun at the coastal side area because of SGR. He will be here on Monday to tell you everything that happened there, considering also the results that are happening. The touchline started on a sad note. We finished on a sad note because of the passing of retired Major General Joseph Nkaiseri and also Bradley Laurie. But what can I say? Rest in peace, Kaiseri. Rest in peace, Bradley. Hope we see you again. The calendar is up next with the IFF schedule that is going to start on the 12th to the 16th of July in 2016. The CAF Champions League and the Confederations Cup fixtures are also ahead, but also the UEFA Champions League qualifiers. I've been Robert Osoro here for the touchline Y254. What can I say? Good afternoon. But also remember, the IFF Under-18 Championships will be live on Y254 and also on our sister channel, KBC Channel 1, starting on 12th of July to the 16th. The first event will be at 9. Teams have started arriving, so be sure to enjoy those matches. Good afternoon. Enjoy the best of your entertainment. Off the Hook starts right now.